Hey there, everyone. This is Car RayRob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And we want to welcome you to our podcast, Say Hello to My Little Film.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
All right, everyone. We are back for a very special episode of Say Hello to My Little
It's
Film.
going to be unique.
Definitely unique. This is the fifth week of this month. There's 5 Mondays this month.
We're not used to that. We don't have a plan for that.
We don't. So we had to come up with one on the fly, and I think we came up with something pretty special.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be interesting.
Exactly, because we have our first ever guest
We do.
on Say Hello to My Little Film, because we're here to do a kids edition of Say Hello to My Little Film this week. Thought we might expand our audience a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a kids edition, so we brought in a real kid.
Exactly. For our first ever guest on Say Hello to My Little Film, I want to welcome the creator, founder, owner, operator, genius behind KittyKaiju Studios, Mr. KittyKaiju himself.
Hello everybody. But our loyal audience, our minions, our ants carrying sugar into the mound. Yeah, I'm here.
How are you feeling? Are you up for this?
Yeah, I'd say I am.
Do you know what we do here? Do you know? Uncle Ray and I are back here most weeks recording this show, but do you know what we do here on Say Hello to My Little Film, Mr. KittyKaiju?
Yes, you channel your inner basement dweller and speak into these, seeking the self-improvement that you need.
Okay, that is a very close observation.
Yeah,
I feel like.
not far off. But what we're going to do today is we're going to show you a movie that you've never seen before that we really wanted you to see for a long time.
Exactly. We've tried to talk you into seeing it in the past. You've always kind of given me a bit of guff about it, but we have decided we're going to trick you into doing it by getting you on this podcast, which I'm very excited about.
Yes, this is what your dad does to me. He tricks me into watching things, so now we are tricking you. Are you ready for
Are
this?
you ready for it?
I mean, yeah, sure. The whole like mystery. It's suspenseful. You're making me feel suspense. So, I mean, what do you got?
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
So what we have for you today, Mr. KittyKaiju, is one of, I would say, mine and Ray's favorite movies as a kid.
Yeah, if somebody told me I've seen this movie 1,000 times, I would not call them a liar.
Exactly. And I think because of that is why we wanted you to see it so badly, to see if you love it as much as we do. And it is the 1991 fantasy adventure Hook.
Now, you were not born in 1991.
You were not even remotely thought about in 1991.
Yes, I mean, I believe that.
You know your birthday, so you definitely should believe that. Do you know anything? I know we've tried to talk you in this board before. Do you know anything about the movie Hook?
I know that it's like a sequel to Peter Pan, and like that's basically all I know.
All right, so the brainwashing has worked a little bit.
A little
Rob.
bit, yeah. It stars Robin Williams, who again
Awesome.
making a return to not to say hello to my little film, but to Car RayRob, because we did Awakenings for Hello Movies.
Yes, we did.
So we get to do another Robin Williams movie, which is always great for us.
Can't do enough.
Exactly. And Hook is about, you're correct, Peter Pan, who has grown up. He's now grown up. He left Neverland, went to the real world, and has now grown up into a very drab adult.
Yeah, he's not gonna be much fun. This is Steven Spielberg's take on the sequel to Peter Pan.
Exactly.
It's definitely has a Spielberg feel to it. It's and Dustin Hoffman plays Hook.
Captain Hook.
Gotta mention Dustin Hoffman.
Yep. Bob Hoskins is in it as Smee. Maggie Smith is in it as Granny Wendy, who is now an old lady.
Julia Roberts plays, as I
Tink.
think they referred to her on set, Tinker Hell, but she actually plays Tinker Bell. Apparently she was really hard to work with.
Oh boy, I did not hear that before. Ray's just telling stories.
Yes, but I read it on the internet, so it must be true.
It must be true.
Sell both kidneys on the internet.
Okay.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly. So, what do you think, bud? Are you excited to watch this movie?
I mean, yeah, if there's fairies from hell, then like cool. I'm down.
There you go.
I
That's an endorsement.
Exactly. Well, if that is the case, and Mr. KittyKaiju is ready to go watch Fairies from Hell with Hook, we are going to go do that right now. If you have not seen Hook, this is the part of the podcast where we ask you to pause the podcast and go and watch the movie for yourself so you can come back and you can find out not what Ray and I think about it in this very special episode.
We love it.
We already love it. You know we love it. We're telling you we love it. We got to find out what Mr. KittyKaiju thinks about it. So we are going to be right back with you to see what that is.
Ray and Rob are currently watching the film. You may be also watching the film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching the film. They'll be right back when they're done watching the film.
All right, guys, we are back.
We did it.
We watched Hook, and I gotta tell you, I still really love this
Me
movie.
too.
It absolutely drives me crazy that this movie, like, kind of I think has a bad rap, at least critically. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I don't really either. I've run into numerous people over the years who have just really disliked Hook for some reason. So like, I don't. Yeah,
And clinically, they're all sane.
Yeah, as far as I mean,
They are.
I can't guarantee any of that. I'm
Right.
not a psychologist by any stretch, but I question the sanity. That definitely makes me question it.
I do too, but we got Kay to watch it. We're gonna find out. I don't exactly know yet how much he liked it or if he did, so we're gonna find that out in a little bit. But there's some other things we want to find out too.
Absolutely. Well, normally on our Say Hello to My Little Film episodes, we have a question that usually drives our conversation, and we think Mr. KittyKaiju can fit right into this format. What do you think? Do you think he can fit into that?
Sure, why
Yeah.
not?
All
Wait,
right.
hold up. I'm
Okay.
curious what Hook's Rotten Tomatoes score is.
Oh,
I know its IMBD score. It's like a 6.4.
that's
so
pretty
it's
mid.
very mid.
That is mid. It is 29%.
What?
29%.
Okay, so at the end of this, we're gonna spend like 10 minutes booing the Rotten Tomatoes score and the people at Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, we're gonna go critic. We're gonna go critic, like spam it and try to get that number up.
Exactly. But we're back. So, but that's okay because they may not like it, but maybe you did, and we're gonna find that out. But in the process, as I said, we're gonna kind of tackle a question. And Peter Pan, it's kind of that classic story about never growing up,
Absolutely.
and people that are afraid to grow up and all of that. And in this take, it really makes you question, what does it mean even to grow up, as Peter Banning kind of has to figure out, going back to Neverland to figure out what it means to be an adult, kind of by revisiting his childhood in a way.
Absolutely. So by the end of this, Kay, we're gonna ask you what you think what this movie says about what it means to be an adult. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, let's jump into it because there was tons of parts of this movie that I really love and really wanted you to see. Let's start off with, I think, maybe the most iconic, just because let's just start like at the best. It's, to me, I'm going to say the food fight scene,
Definitely.
the
roast battle. It's the
yeah,
roast
I was just saying, like, it's a
battle.
rap battle,
Somebody
a
I
roast
know
battle.
actually loves roast battles.
Yeah, it's a roast battle. I've won quite a few at school.
Could you beat Peter or
Rufio.
Jeez Louise?
Oh my gosh.
I just kept thinking of his real name. Or could you beat Rufio or Peter in a roast battle? They're pretty skilled. Their Riz is on point.
I don't think you actually know what that means.
I don't know what that means. But could you take them?
I mean, I would probably lose. I could stand a chance against them, but
Well, when Peter Banning rips out Prison Barber, I mean, I just don't know where you come back.
Hit
from
him
that.
back, Rube.
Math tutor, which that's a personal dig at Ray over there.
That's not even an insult. That's a compliment. That was a compliment battle. They switched. They lost. They got off track there. But that leads into the food fight scene and Peter seeing the dinner, and it's like a turning point in the movie. That's, like I said, hilarious scene, hugely quotable scene. What'd you think about the scene? Did you think it was fun from your perspective?
Yeah, definitely one of the most entertaining roast battles I've ever seen. I don't think anybody at school could stand a chance against either of these guys. The kids' roast at school are mainly just like stuff about hairlines.
Again, not funny.
Man, really going stabbing Uncle Ray in the back over there.
What about, like, I remember when I was a kid, and like once Peter like starts right before the food fight, or when he like throws that first little thing in Rufio's face, and he can now see all the food, and there was all those colorful cakes and pies and stuff, and I was like, I want to eat that stuff so bad. Like, didn't that just look like just scrumptious?
I think so.
I thought it kind of looked like a trampoline park.
And don't you want to eat trampoline parks?
I don't know how to answer that question, but yes.
There's only one way to answer it.
Fair
You
enough.
did it perfectly.
Well, so let's take a step back and let's talk about the especially in
The setup.
Yeah, in the quest to answer our question, obviously they do a great job early on of setting up Peter Banning and who he is as an adult.
Yeah, which is not a good dude. Not
It's
fun.
No, he's not fun. He definitely is not an attentive father, if you will. Maybe
No.
neglectful.
Very neglectful.
Very, very neglectful. And, I think that is something, maybe you could kind of see almost as a natural progression for Peter, because I think in some regards, when you're, there's a bit of selfishness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That comes with Neverland in a way. And
Yeah, I almost would say with becoming an adult too. Like
Sure.
he was a kid for so long, and maybe he just really wanted to be a successful adult. He gave up so much leaving Neverland, maybe that he had to really make it worth it, and so he went on this pursuit for success, and he became successful in the business world, but maybe not so much as a person.
well, he became a pirate. I mean,
In Wendy's own words.
Wendy's own words. He became a pirate because he just, when he sees another company, he just blows him out of the water, as his Jack
Jack would say.
said. Charlie Corsmo, who was you remember he was also in Dick Tracy. You remember that?
he was on fire there for those early
like a hot
late
minute.
80s, early 90s.
Yeah, but so obviously
The fall of a child star.
it happens. You'd be surprised how long how often that happens. But so in this process, obviously they go to Granny Wendy's. They go back to England, to Granny Wendy's because she's getting
what?
exactly to have a dedication of a wing of a hospital.
Yep.
And while they're there, Jack and
Sister.
KittyKaiju, do you remember her name? You can do it.
I'm thinking.
It's Maggie.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Maggie.
It was on the tip of my tongue. I was like, Maddie? Is it Maddie?
That was close.
Mabel?
It was very close. So Jack and Maggie are kidnapped by Captain Hook.
And the dog told them it was coming.
Right.
The dog was saying hook, hook, hook. And I just remember loving that as a kid, as the old guy,
Hook.
the old crazy.
Hook.
Yeah. Toodles is like, ruff, hook. You speak, dog? That's awesome.
Right. Absolutely. And obviously Toodles losing his marbles. Gotta
Yeah.
love that part.
He loses them good.
He lost them good. So yep. Then he doesn't. Obviously, at that point, Peter has forgotten that he's Peter Pan, and he's got to go back to Neverland to save his kids. And Tinkerbell is the one who comes to retrieve him.
Yes, she does, and he doesn't believe it at first, but he gets there, and she basically takes over the role of trying to convince the Lost Boys that this old fat guy is Peter Pan, convince Hook that this is Peter Pan, and she's going to turn Peter Banning into Peter Pan. So Robin Williams has a lot of work to do to discover his youthfulness and become the Pan.
Exactly. What? As
Pan the Man.
Pan the Man.
That's the goal, become Pan the Man.
Exactly. How did that kind of work for you, Mr. KittyKaiju? The whole setup going into Peter Banning being taken to Neverland.
I feel like it was pretty interesting, and I liked when he embarrassed himself when he was just like, trying to reach across like the mast of the ship to try to get his kids in the net. It was really funny and very embarrassing.
It was pretty embarrassing.
It's like the guy has no heart. Like, he's so scared of falling, he won't even save his kids. What'd you think about the boo box? Would you ever want to spend the night in one?
I could probably get out. You know, I'm a Scorpio. I can talk to the scorpions, and we could raise an army.
There you go. Take down Captain Hook with your army of scorpions.
And Rob, of course, you know the very famous cameo of the person that goes into the boo box.
Glenn Close
playing a male pirate for some reason, and it's about 5 seconds of this movie.
Yeah, it was a strange kind of, I don't know, maybe I don't know the story behind that, but I know it, and I see it every time. I never not see it.
We should look it up.
We should look it up.
I tried looking up some trivia before, and I've never found out why she chose to do this. I don't know if it was just a Spielberg thing. She thought it would be fun, but I never saw any real reason of why Glenn Close had to do that scene. But
absolutely. Well, if anybody in the audience knows, by all means, leave it in the comment section and let us know the true story of how Glenn Close ended up being in Hook.
There was a couple other cameos. Carrie Fisher and George Lucas are in this movie.
No,
they are the couple that are kissing that start to fly as they're going to Neverland, and
I see that. I remember that.
Yeah. That's George Lucas and Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia.
Wow, that is
some weird
very
stuff.
random, and I'm not. When I was watching the movie, I didn't really know why they were floating. Just these two random middle-aged people kissing because they need self-improvement and therapy.
Had some happy thoughts.
Happy thought. They had the fairy dust dropped on them, so it was happy thoughts.
If I was George Lucas, not me.
Fair enough.
Touché.
But that actually cameo makes a lot of sense because obviously Lucas and Spielberg are very close friends.
Yeah.
So that
Carrie
makes a lot
Fisher
of
worked
sense.
on this movie. She was like a writer or something, or touched up did some writing.
That I actually did not know either.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that! I'm learning something new.
There
by
you
doing this
go,
episode.
Rob. I've watched this movie hundreds of times. You've got to look up new stuff every time you watch it.
Absolutely. But so obviously once they get to Neverland and Peter has to figure out how to get his kids back. I think one of the interesting things about this, the story angle, narrative angle, is how Captain Hook decides, I'm going to make the kids love me. Thanks to Smee.
Peter's kids, yeah.
Exactly, Peter's kids. Make them love him and not even want to go back. So, obviously Maggie's not into it, so she off the bat is not.
I question his plan a little bit, because his original plan to get the kids to like him was to make him go to school. Do you think, people that make you go to school are people
that's
that
a
you
good
like?
Question.
Well, I do like the people who made me go to school.
But if some strangers hey, I want to be best friends. You want to go to school that I'm teaching? And this is not a stranger danger situation, but would this plan work on you? Would you rather go to an arcade or go to school?
Oh boy.
Probably an arcade.
and this is the Neverland versus the real world right here.
It's actually kind of surprising, but I'm not a huge fan of arcades.
Really?
Yeah. I prefer just playing whatever video games I want in the comfort of my own home. You feel?
Oh, I can understand
I feel that, but I will say, going a little tangentially, one arcade game I used to love was Hook.
Oh, I actually don't remember this as an arcade game. I had it on the NES.
Oh wait, yeah, no, that's what I remember.
I was gonna say I had it on the NES, and I did actually really enjoy the Hook game that was on NES.
Yes, I think maybe there was a port. I swear there was a port for an arcade, but
maybe.
But yeah, I did love the little video game that came along with this.
Absolutely. So obviously, as we said, Maggie doesn't really fall for the trap, but Jack is susceptible. He obviously has a very strained relationship with Peter, with his father, and it kind of gives Captain Hook an opening. And, I think it could be understandable because, as we were kind of talking about and alluding to with this question, Peter hasn't necessarily grown up to be maybe the ideal adult, and he's got some growing to do, and,
Yeah, it's some bad timing where, Peter has recently done some things that made Jack upset. But also don't remember. You got to remember that Neverland has this like magical like ability to make you forget. So like as he's forgetting his dad, Hook is then like replacing memories, and
True.
so it's not all on just Peter being a complete jerk.
Yeah. How about Mr. KittyKaiju? Can you kind of see Jack's willingness to accept Captain Hook as his surrogate father figure?
No. I wouldn't trust a man with those eyebrows and that mustache.
I can understand.
He does
that.
have some. He's got the best eyebrows in the biz.
Right, and they're clearly fake because after when he, at the end when he takes his wig off or the wig gets taken off, so you gotta wonder, man, those eyebrows can't be real.
Shmi has to put those on, I guess.
Right.
The other thing though, so like Hook is winning over the kids, but then Peter has to win over the Lost Boys.
Yep.
And I love that like intro scene where he like first like gets exposed to the Lost Boys and they're like messing with him, and then then comes the emotional scene where like there's Pockets, the only Lost Boy left, who's got to convince everybody that this is really Peter.
Yeah.
And the music is amazing in this part, and it's like to me it's just an iconic scene. How did you feel about Pockets winning over the Lost Boys and convincing them that that old guy in front of them was actually Peter?
I liked how he redecorated Peter's face in a kind of concerning way. He was just like,
that's what it takes for us old people to look young again.
So somebody's just got to walk around and start pulling our faces back.
well, can do.
You have a volunteer right here,
All right.
Rob. But we don't need to see you look young. It's not that big of an improvement. But you get one thing I got to say, like just to kind of date ourselves a little bit. There's like Pockets is convinced that this man is Peter, and then he like him and Rufio start going back and forth, and like Pockets has this line where he goes like, "What is he doing here if he's not Peter Pan, huh? He don't look happy here," and et cetera, et cetera. For 25 years, I had no clue what he said. We didn't have the technology to know what all I heard was like the beats of what he was saying, but
Sure.
until we could turn subtitles on, I mean easily 25 years. I loved that part of the movie. Had no clue what the kid was saying.
Well, you know what he says now.
I do now. I do, and thank God, because it's like that was like a nervous tick every time I watched the movie. Like, what is he saying? Like trying to listen so intently, I could never figure it out. But now I know.
Now you know. But the other great intro in this is Rufio,
Yes,
who's the new Pan. He's the Pan now.
and he's got great hair. You can't deny that.
Well, no.
No.
He has terrible hair.
No.
It's just a
Wow.
lot.
Ouch.
And
We could get your hair. We
Knife
could
in
do.
the
We
back.
could get your hair looking like Rufio's hair. You got enough.
Skunk hair with too much mousse.
way too much moose.
I think everybody in this movie is a Peter Pan character, but I think Rufio is kind of like made. Like I don't think Rufio ever existed in any kind of like fashion before, and they created an iconic character that I love.
Yeah, I think that is true. If there is one thing that really came out of Hook that I think is truly great, it is probably Rufio.
And Thud, but yeah, Rufio.
Well, Thudbutt's good too. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like you said, is that kind of iconic character because I mean I know that guy to this day still does conventions and stuff as for the Rufio character.
Wasn't
and
he
stuff
trying to do like a Kickstarter a couple years ago, like a
I
movie
remember that?
about like how Rufio got his hair?
Yes, I do remember.
Do you want to see that prequel? How Rufio got his hair back?
Back?
Well, I was gonna say back.
Kind of reminded me of how Stella got her groove back, so I went with how Rufio got his
hair back.
Who is Stella? And how did you groove her?
That's a different movie.
That's a different movie.
That's
We're
a
not
different
talking
episode.
about. We're
but
not talking about
well,
that.
all right. So now Rufio does. He bites the bullet or eats the sword, I guess you could say. Did that scene get you?
No.
What? That's insane. Rufio dying and he wanting Peter to be his dad. Like that's like, and then what that says for Jack, and like that just rips
Right.
you in the heart.
I mean, I never really liked Rufio. I'm
Oh,
gonna be totally
hot
honest.
take.
I need to sit in a
Hot
different seat,
take.
Rob. I need to sit in a
Hot
different seat.
take. Oh man, that's all right. You heard it here first. KittyKaiju does not like Rufio.
I mean, he's a good character. I like him from like a character standpoint, but I just don't really like him from a viewer standpoint.
okay.
He's just kind of annoying and super full of himself, and I kind of want to punch him.
There was a bit of a bullyish,
There was.
bullyishness to Rufio.
There's
I'll give you that.
There's a bit of a bullyiness, but he's also in his own way protecting the rest of the Lost Boys from what he thinks is a fraud coming in to impersonate Peter Pan, and he's not going to let that happen.
Or he's just afraid that somebody's going to take his power.
Kill the lawyer.
I'm not that kind of lawyer.
Great setup.
It is true. That again, there's so many lines in this movie
At least that we say all the time.
That we say literally all the time. So
how was Bangarang is in the dictionary now, I'm sure, because of this movie.
Well, it better be if it's not.
Yeah. So in the morning at school, I said to one of my friends, all the grown-ups are pirates. Kill the pirate. I'm not a pirate. I'm a lawyer. Kill the lawyer.
Oh boy, be careful.
We got him. We got him quoting lines from Hook. This is a good sign.
This is a good sign. This is a really good sign. All right, I like where this podcast is going. But yeah, so obviously, Peter eventually overcomes his roadblocks, if you will, rediscovers himself as the Pan, puts on the tights, which is a little off-putting.
They still fit. They do comment. Well, here, let me just mention real quick. So, really, Hook has this plan to get Peter and crush him, and essentially, his plan would have worked if Peter didn't get a concussion from a random baseball, hitting him in the head and getting his memories back. If that home run never hit Peter in his head, he wouldn't have remembered he was Peter Pan. Hook would have won, and he'd be dead.
How it should have ended.
Bro, that's a what if episode if I've ever seen one.
There you go.
What if the home run never hit Peter?
Run home, Jack.
Jack would become the new Hook, and he would have left Neverland.
No. Home run, Jack.
I was going to say, the baseball scene is a really great, iconic scene to me, too. So they get so much done in that scene. They remind Jack about Maggie. They get Peter missing Jack. They show Hook and Jack's relationship as it currently is. It's a really effective, fast scene.
Yeah.
Bad form.
Violent game baseball.
Violent game baseball. But so obviously, as we said, Peter does get his memories back, becomes the Pan again.
Jack was his happy thought. Jack is how he can fly.
His happy thought, exactly.
I believe I can fly.
Which is funny because he's afraid to fly in the beginning, and Jack, on that airplane scene, which is another one that I love the airplane scene. Where
you're afraid you're gonna get sucked out.
I'm not afraid of getting sucked out.
Yes, you are.
So that's the whole. So in that, showing that friction.
Grow up. You're acting like a child.
I am a child.
Yes.
Yes. And so to have that kind of loop back around again, and him be the happy thought that helps him fly.
Yeah.
I thought was, again, it's such great writing. Again, it kills me, like you said, that it has 29%.
Yeah. Well, so just to be fair and just look the other side, that one thing about this movie I don't necessarily care for is the Tinkerbell love triangle a little bit. I feel like that's a little forced.
I can understand that. It's a little forced, but I think that's probably something that people always probably assumed about Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, just their relationship, even when he was young and she was, the fairy. I can see why they were trying to do it. Do I feel like it necessarily landed in the movie? I could see why you would be hesitant about it.
Yeah, I think the whole interspecies romance is concerning from a biological standpoint, but if I
get it. I'm on the same page. I do. The movie is longer than you think.
It is. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, so you could cut 5 or 6 minutes of that and still be okay. But yeah, you're right. I think Tink does grow. There's a scene where she becomes human sized.
Yeah.
But she, at the end of the day, she is still a fairy.
Okay, is it just me, or there's not a lot of girls on Neverland, but all of them seem to have the hots for Peter.
On land. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's either the fairies all love Peter or the mermaids all love Peter. They all love Peter.
Well, and, back when he was a kid, the natives loved him, too.
Tiger Lily.
They do not play
Tiger
in this
Lily
movie,
loved him, yeah, they did not. They roughly mentioned it, but, because, again, it's a little culturally questionable as the original cartoon kind of laid out, but...
Peter's Riz is on point.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. When you're basically running an island and you're getting all the pirates, making them look foolish. You're you're gonna have a high risk score, I guess.
I
But
would think so.
what do you
Peter
think
Pan-
about the movie? Like, I also feel like like just set wise and stuff. I don't want talk too much about some of that stuff, but like I think like the set decoration of Neverland is like amazing. Like it's got this like to me it's like it was like Pirates of the Caribbean in real life before the movie Pirates of Caribbean came to real life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the ride at Disney, the Pirates of the Caribbean, like that's kind of felt like Neverland looked like that in real life, and like the Lost Boys and their aesthetic, just like that looked like the best playground ever. Like I don't know, I just love the environments of this movie as well.
Definitely. As a kid, I was obviously drawn to that kind of thing. But Mr. Kitty Kaiju, this is an interesting segue because as if you had the opportunity to go to Neverland and be a Lost Boy and live in their treehouse, would you do it?
No, they have like zero hygiene, no video games. Um, their clothes are all ripped apart.
Yeah.
They constantly risk their lives against the pirates. Like there's even a line from the movie where Hook says, "I'm tired of killing natives and lost boys."
Sure.
Yep, yeah, that's a different time. We didn't.
Untold death.
When we were watching this movie, we had video games, but they weren't that good. So like, yeah, we'll go live in the wild and be a lost boy. We'll do it.
Absolutely. So you don't find that element of adventure appealing, fighting pirates and swashbuckling and things like that.
No, not really. I
Okay.
feel like
Okay.
for me, I like adventures that's like it has something to do with like earth-shattering revelations like conspiracies or revealing that kaiju actually exists.
Sure.
Well, there might be one in Neverland that's
You
never been
never
discovered,
know,
and you
right?
might be the one that finds it.
That's a
What if Neverland is actually like some sort of animal? It's like a huge ocean kaiju that lays dormant underground and stuff started growing on its back. You need some hygiene.
Okay. The question is,
Is
do you
that
think
could be why people stay young forever when they live on them?
that's a good point?
Yeah, like some sort of kaiju magic. He could be like a world turtle or something.
Okay. My question is, do you think that the crocodile may be some kind of kaiju? That's a big crocodile.
Wait, how big was the crocodile again?
He was
It was pretty
probably
big.
25, 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are some saltwater crocodiles who have grown to like about 30 feet. So, and because it's like an island, it's surrounded by salt water, so it's not too far-fetched. But I do think the magic thing might add to the theory that Neverland is some sort of magic kaiju, kind of like the Titan from Owl House.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to see some connections and some possible world linking.
Sure.
But yeah, so and then I guess getting back to the movie, I think the last battle of Neverland, the third act of this movie, I think is pretty cool. Peter and Hook finally get to clash.
Yeah. We finally get the big Peter Pan, Captain Hook final battle that Hook wanted in the beginning of the movie, but obviously Peter Banning was not quite ready for. We finally get it. But, the Lost Boys really kind of make this fight scene for me.
Yeah, they kind of all like Thud with his like
Oh, man.
magical power
Thud
of turning
is
into a
great.
bowling ball.
Yep. And all their different gadgets, the marble spreader gun thing, and
yeah.
like the egg shooter, that kind of stuff I thought was always really cool.
So, how about I decode the science of the egg shooter?
Oh.
It's impossible. Female chickens don't lay eggs that fast.
Oh.
And they would need some sort of like medicine or some like hormone implant or something like that to lay eggs that fast.
Fair enough. So this is
And-
movie magic, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and luckily it's not morally questionable because no males were like fertilizing it, so they don't have embryos in it. It's all good.
There you go.
There you go. But there is, as I do like give the movie some credit because Peter does kill some pirates. He stabs them like right in the gut. So like,
Sure.
as G or PG as this movie is, there's some good killing in it.
Yeah. I think that maybe was always a thing for me about this movie where it did toe that line a bit between a kids movie and an adult movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some stuff that you still like even as you get older. There's attempts at suicide. There's calling
Right.
people sadists. There's murder. So yeah, All the good stuff for being that you like to see as an adult too.
Exactly. And even some of the imagery, that some of those early scenes, like when obviously not to talk about the movie all over again from the beginning, but that the kidnapping scene, with like the scratch marks along the wall and stuff like
The
that.
children were screaming.
Right, yeah, like that's kind of a scary scene. So again, it does kind of push the boundaries a little bit in those ways, which is obviously good.
And then, eventually, I guess before Peter goes back, I think it's a really nice scene when he's got, because of the passing of Rufio, they're just like, all right, we got to move on. Who wants this sword? And like, it's like the picking of the replacement and stuff. And, I think it's a cool scene passing the sword to Thud too. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of works for me. It is moving on from Rufio pretty quickly, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, as Mr. KittyKaiju pointed out, it seems like maybe losing Lost Boys isn't necessarily an uncommon occurrence on Neverland.
Yeah, like, even the Captain Hook line that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like, as fun as the Lost Boys seem, this is like an entire film theory episode about why being one of the Lost Boys would actually suck.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of film theory, I guess maybe the second little thing that kind of irks me with this movie is they kind of have that ending where it's like, did this actually happen?
Oh,
and I hate when movies kind of do that. It's
Yeah.
like, you just had a fun, awesome adventure. Don't tell me now, like, it was all a dream. Like,
Right.
So, Kay, what do you think? Did this really happen, or did Peter just like have a concussion and dream it?
Well, what would he get a concussion from?
Sure.
Well, didn't he just wake up in the?
Yeah, he was just like in the parks. It was almost like he was drunk.
Maybe
or
just
something.
maybe it wasn't a concussion. Maybe that's a little
Maybe he was
hyperbole. But
drunk.
just drunk and had a bad dream. He was on a trip.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it does seem a little far-fetched, but it seems like his kids remember it perfectly fine.
Yeah, they don't say it, but you can see in their eyes that they're like, "Hey, glad I'm not kidnapped anymore."
Yeah, and it's just Smee, like just Bob Hoskins just sweeping up in the park. That's the only thing. And again, I'm with you. It feels like such an unnecessary little like dig there at the end for something like that. I can get behind on that.
I think I do think the movie, because like Dustin Hoffman is like the pilot, like they announced the pilot, like the voice, and I think it's more of like supposed to be like a callback to like the plays when people played multiple roles and stuff, more than like this never happened. But it's too ambiguous. I just rather it not be there.
Right. In some tellings, the kid's father is also Captain Hook.
Yeah, I think
like Wendy and her brothers and stuff, like their father is Captain Hook.
Yeah, I think in a lot of the plays, stage productions, that's how you would do it. That their father plays Captain Hook. Yeah.
But obviously, through this experience, seeing Rufio die, having to fight back, figuring out his happy thought, Jack and Peter kind of mend their relationship, their father-son relationship, and kind of find a good stable ground. And then Peter also realizes that he just in general needs to be more present in his life.
Let's revisit the dream thing, because I have some interesting thoughts about it.
Okay.
So, I feel like the thing about the Lost Boys is it seems too good to be true.
Oh, sure.
And the whole Neverland thing, like, staying young forever and having fun for the rest of your life, sure, you gotta, like, maybe kill some pirates and risk your life, like, bi-monthly, but, like, whatever. It's all good. Like, you can basically do whatever you want, because nothing ever gets done because you stay young forever, and time is basically infinite, and the whole idea of staying young forever is physically impossible, but that's not... Yeah.
I think that kind of leads to basically the question that we've posed
a little
to you.
bit, yeah.
So, should we try to answer that?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So, you brought up a good point, this idea of, is it better to stay young forever or to grow up? What do you think? Let's kind of baby walk through.
What does the movie say to you about
What do you
that?
say about that?
I feel like the thing is, being a kid is... I feel like something that I find really interesting is that kids are always wanting to be adults, and adults are always wanting to be kids. And being a kid is like, you're short, people boss you around just because they're older, but if you're an adult, you have more power, but also you have more responsibilities.
Sure.
And it gets hard, and so there are pros and cons, but I'm trying to enjoy my time as a kid. But, like, theoretically, if you're an adult, you could just find some way to make your voice, like, high-pitched, wear kids' clothes, and say that you're just a kid with gigantism.
I'm not allowed to go to the street down the park because of that, so that didn't work. But
well, so but that okay, so that is interesting. You are enjoying your time as a kid, but you know it is finite. Again, you are going to grow up. So the main question that we talked about is, what does it mean to grow up? So, looking at Peter Banning's journey through this movie, Mr. KittyKaiju, what do you see as the answer to what does it mean to be a grown-up?
I feel like being an adult can mean different things. Being an adult can mean different things through the lens of different people. Like, for kids, I feel like it means, like, you have more power, and you're entitled to more things, and you have a job, and you actually have a chance to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Adults see it as being dead inside, paying taxes, having to do stuff you don't want to do all the time, which is also a big part of childhood, and doing things like this. Sitting in a basement seeking self-improvement by spitting into a microphone and seeking self-improvement from the other brain rotter basement dwellers out there on the ye olde interwebs.
yes,
that nailed it.
Yeah, but I think in a roundabout way though, that's like, I feel like that's what, like, to your point, K2. I feel like that's why Peter, like, turned into a bad adult though. Like, he just felt too much pressure, and maybe sometimes you want to do so much for your kids, and you think you got to make money to do it, and being successful at your job is how you're going to be a good father, and maybe that's how Peter lost track of it all and turned into a horrible father because he cared too much about his job and being successful in that realm than he did it being at home.
Sure. But, I think something else that Mr. KittyKaiju brought up that I think is really interesting is the idea of, kids all want to be adults and adults all want to be kids. And I think the truth of the matter is you balance both through your entire life.
Yeah.
As you grow up, you're kind of balancing this newfound responsibility that you slowly gain over time. And the challenge is, as you gain more of that responsibility, it's still holding on to that sense of whimsy of being a child and things like that, and to kind of balance yourself out and realize that you have to enjoy your life, you have to have fun, you have to understand that there's a lot about life that needs to be enjoyed, especially when you have kids, as I clearly do, and I clearly do enjoy.
Yes.
So,
well, and that's why I love this movie. It reminds me about doing that, and I really enjoy when I get to watch it. That's why we recommended this movie to you, Kay. So now let me ask you, this is our ultimate question
this is
of
the
the
big
podcast.
one. This is the big question.
Now that you've been exposed to the classic Steven Spielberg movie Hook, did you like Hook, and would you recommend it to your friends to go check out?
Yes, I liked it.
Yay!
It was better than I expected. I honestly thought that it would just be like a babyish adaptation of Peter Pan, because that's honestly how I view a lot of the early Disney movies. Like, what's his name? Dump Truck, Dumbo. Yeah, Dumbo. Blar Blar. So.
Babar is different.
Yeah, Babar is definitely different.
Like Dumbo, Peter Pan, Cinderella, Snow White, all that. I kind of view them as babyish. And, like, even though there's a lot of stuff that probably wouldn't be okay in normal kids movies today.
Sure, there's some dark stuff in some of those movies.
Yeah, like how Peter Pan is a sociopathic killer. Anyway,
more on that later.
it was better than I expected, and like I said, I thought it was just kind of gonna be babyish, but it wasn't. It was heartfelt and really makes me ponder what my life is gonna be like in, say, 20 years.
Okay.
Very cool. You gonna tell your friends to check it out?
If their parents haven't forced them to watch it already, then yeah, like it's very likely that they have. I feel like among ye olde generation, among
Us basement dwellers.
yes, among ye olde basement dwellers, I feel like Hook is very popular. Like in your childhood, it's a good childhood movie for a lot of people in your generation.
Damn right.
Dang. Exactly.
I know. And so I'm gonna give it like 8 out of 10.
Woo,
was good.
An 8 out of 10. So we bumped up that IMDb from
There it
6.2 up to 8
Yeah.
just because of Mr.
You know-
KittyKaiju.
Let's kick out IMDb or whatever it is. We gotta kick them out the door, fire them, kick them out, give them the boot, and we gotta put in a newer rating. We gotta stay hip with the times.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Mr. KittyKaiju loved Hook, and he would definitely recommend it to his friends. It is a win. It is a win as
Woohoo,
a
we got 'em.
podcaster. It is a win as a parent.
Now you have to watch every movie we recommend to you because you like that one, so that means you'll like all of the
Yeah,
rest.
exactly. We're going to do this again. You want to do this again?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We might be doing this again.
All right, guys, it is Mr. KittyKaiju's bedtime, so he has left us, but
Yep.
me and Rob are in it for the long haul. We're pulling an all-nighter like it's 1995.
That's what we always do. That's why I stay up till
Absolutely.
the sun comes up, watching movies, playing board games and video games. Yep.
Falling
just
asleep
like the
by
old days.
7:30.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to bed right after
Yeah.
this.
Same. All right. All right, Rob. Well, we both loved Hook.
We did. We knew that going in.
Yeah, we knew that. Of course we did. Have you seen anything else recently that you love?
You know, I have watched a few things. It was just spring break. So,
Yes.
Mr. KittyKaiju and I were hanging out a little bit. It was a busy spring break, but we had found some time to watch a movie or two that we hadn't seen yet. And one of them was Transformers 1.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings with Transformers. I'm not like a huge fan of like just the franchise, toys,
Right.
movie shows, whatever. But Mr. KittyKaiju is, and so we watched Transformers 1, and it was fun.
Good.
I
I
feel
heard
like,
it was pretty decent.
yeah, it was an interesting, take on the origin story, if you will, as they kind of do now. And I think, really probably since, Spider-Verse movies where I feel like everybody's trying to do this like new kind of spin on not just the animation, but also the
Yeah.
storytelling and the tone and Lego, or maybe I should even say Lego Movie, because I feel like maybe Lego Movie had a little bit more to do with it. But either way,
Super kinetic.
yeah, and so it was fun. It seemed kind of a different spin on the origin story. The voice talent was good.
Yeah, was Chris? Did Chris Hemsworth pull off Optimus?
I thought he did. I
That's
mean, especially
so-
the way they played him. I think
It'd be
that was
so
also
weird
part
just to
of
hear a
it.
different voice, though. But
It is true. It is definitely true. Peter Cullen. I think
Yeah.
Peter Cullen is the Optimus. But yeah, it. Like I said, it was fun. Let's see what else. I think you mentioned this maybe possibly in a previous episode, but I finally finished Cobra Kai.
oh yes, I mentioned it.
Yeah, and I'm so over some of these series doing this like 3 parts thing.
Well, get used
And-
to it because Stranger Things is doing it this summer.
I know, but it's like at least I think that's probably only 2 parts.
Think so.
This was 3, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So I think
I
when
know.
you had mentioned, I think the second part was terrible,
Horrible, I think.
which it was. Yep. So it's like the first 5 episodes are fine. The second 5 episodes were terrible.
Trash Panda.
And then the last 5 were a little better. I
Yeah.
think they ended it well enough. It's been
Yeah.
a show that we've always said is kind of a 50-50 show.
Yeah.
Like 50 good, 50 bad. And, I think the adult stuff I think ended pretty well. I think the best part was Johnny Lawrence, and honestly it should be. Like
Yeah.
that's really who the show is about.
Yeah.
And
It's nice that Daniel can get some good stuff, but this is a Johnny Lawrence show.
yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things was like the scene with Kreese where like Johnny Lawrence finally
Yeah.
kind of spills his guts to Kreese a bit, like, really puts him in his place, like for how he
Yeah.
made him feel and being abandoned, all these really, strong emotions. And in that moment, I'm like, this is what this whole series has been building to.
Could we been a
Is
little
this
more
scene.
focused and got
Yeah,
there? a
and
little better.
Zabka knocked it out of the park.
Oh, he was great,
He just
man. I
knocked
hope
it
he
out of
gets
the
more
park.
stuff because
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe his range might not be huge, but he can do it.
Yeah.
He can act.
Absolutely. And
Even Kreese had a decent little ending in this show. I got to give him credit.
yeah, when you
that
blow
was not
yourself up on a
easy.
yacht, I mean, it's what can
A
you
little
do?
over the top.
It
A
was-
little over the top.
There were definitely a few moments in these last 5 episodes that were like, this is dumb, but I'm okay with it.
It's
I'm
working.
It's
It's
working.
working.
It's kind of dumb, but I'm gonna go with it. So, but yeah, and then let's see. Oh, Electric State. That was another thing we watched. over
Yes,
spring
I've
break, was
watched Electric State,
Oh, did you?
too.
Okay, good. So we can kind of cross over here. So, it was fine.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't
fun.
know.
I think better than what people are giving it crap for, but it's not good. It's not
Yeah,
great.
It's not. Yeah, it's not good. I think for me it was again a movie that as unfortunately kind of is the deal these days. There's a lot of style and just not enough substance.
Yeah, I think when you just have these like unlimited budgets, because word on the street is this was like a $300 million movie of some
Jesus.
sort,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't think you are forced to be creative when you can just spend that much money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I do think sometimes like when people know that the budget's big, I do think that affects people's opinion a little bit. I think you judge it a little harder because you expect it to be really good. Because again, I think these movies like it's a 5, where I think like it's middle of the road.
Yeah.
Where I think people are kind of giving it like a 2. I'm like, I don't know if it's a 2.
Yeah, I could probably get behind that 4 or 5. Yeah, I could get on a 4 or 5. It just, unfortunately, I think the talent which was there was just kind of overshadowed by kind of a lukewarm story. But the funny thing is the source material isn't really a narrative in any like full fleshed out way.
I think the Electric State is a little bit. I know like the originals, like the Tales from the Loop, aren't.
Yeah,
But I do think Electric State is a hair more structured.
Well, I'm talking about like the original source. Well, are you talking about the original source material, or are you talking about the shows and the movies?
I think the Electric State comes from the Electric State.
It does.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's still just a series of pictures.
I thought there was a little bit more narrative.
There is a little bit more, but it's not like
Yeah.
it's still like very minimal.
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
mostly
Like,
a cosmetically
Yeah.
feel to it all.
right. It's still about the visual, which
Yeah.
unfortunately is what the movie ended up being.
Yeah, and even that, sometimes I'm like, all right, you have these. It's if you're going to be all about visuals, like a lot of the robots look very similar in a sense, like a very close knit style. There wasn't a huge variation, and then you throw in some random weird things like, I thought tonally the movie struggled sometimes because it's like, all right, you've got this. You're talking about this war, and then the president is Mr. Peanut. Like, what? That just felt weird. Like, all right, what are we going for tonally here?
Yeah, and I think some of the stuff with Millie Bobby Brown and her brother was like too easily gained. Like she bought in real quick.
Too
It
easy,
was, like
yeah.
it was her brother. It's like, oh, I made a hand gesture.
The hand gesture
Oh.
that is like the character's go to, like it's not her brother's
Right.
signature
Right.
hand gesture, it's the character. So like the robot would have done that naturally. Like,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was I think it was very predictable, and I'm like, as soon as like that happened, I'm like, oh, he's somewhere and he doesn't know where he is. I'm like, he's a brain in a jar.
Right. Yeah.
And like it wasn't necessarily specifically a brain in a jar, but he was essentially a brain in a jar.
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, so this is not going to go well as you think it's going to.
There's no way to say that. Yeah. I think there was like way too much movie in the beginning to do like a proper like act 1. 'Cause like you said, things just felt fast and too easily gained. Because like
Yeah.
you're doing the whole history of the planet and this war, and
Yeah.
then getting Miley Brown to like discover like find her brother and like find Peter Quill. Like there's just way too much that had to get done.
Yeah.
Like that you just had to rush through everything.
Agreed. But so yeah, I think we're pretty much in agreement on that. But what else, man?
A
Keep
couple of
going.
things that I did really, really enjoy.
There we
So
go.
let's turn the tide a
we're gonna
little
end this
bit.
on a big
So,
note then,
yeah.
strong note.
Finished Invincible season 3, which I
I am
loved.
so behind. I watched season 1 and I have yet to go back.
Yeah, and they're getting better and better.
I know.
So
I need to do it. I need to do it.
season. What was that? Is that your
That's our
doorbell?
doorbell.
Okay. Okay.
Shit, I didn't even think about that.
Anyway,
All right, let's go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Well, you and I are pretty much in agreement on that. But what else you been watching?
well, some things I actually really loved. So let's turn the tide a little bit. I finished Invincible season 3.
Okay.
Awesome show. It's getting better and better.
Mhm.
They're you're so invested in the characters now. They can really pull off some really great stuff. There's such a great supporting cast other than just Invincible that like it's really hard for the show to have bad episodes, and they had some really good ones. The finale was great. I mean, it basically was at one point like a 37-minute fight that you're just glued to the screen on, and it's a feat. They're doing a great job there.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna have to keep twisting your arm. You've heard me harp about this, but
I already know it. You don't even have to say it. There it is. I knew it. I knew it. I didn't even have to.
You are like the only
didn't even
person
have
in
to.
the planet who hasn't seen Severance, and you gotta
I'm proud
watch
of it.
Severance.
No, I'm just kidding.
You gotta watch Severance. Tonally, the show is amazing. The show is so purposeful at everything it puts in the screen that comes back, and things that haven't come back yet. I'm not like, oh, they forgot about this. I'm like, oh my god, they're waiting for season 3 because I know it's coming back. Like the show does not waste scenes, waste moments, waste character interaction. So it's really good. I hate that we had to wait 3 years for season 2, but it was worth it. And I hopefully don't have to wait 3 years for season 3.
Well, we'll see. And maybe by then I'll have watched the first 2.
You better. All right, Rob. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap up this great conversation we had for the movie Hook. We are done, but we are not letting the audience off the hook just yet.
Oh, that was the lowest hanging fruit possible.
And I took it off the branch and took a bite. We're going to ask the audience, before you guys are done, to like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. If you do, we will read it live on air someday. And don't forget, you can reach out to us through email at carrayrob@gmail.com, or you can say hi to us on Blue Sky at Car RayRob.
Absolutely. And if there's a comment section on whatever platform you are on, we want to see as many comments as we can about how criminally underrated Hook is. 29% on Rotten Tomatoes is a travesty, a sham, it's a mockery. It's a Travis-mockery.
No making up words, sir.
Pooter pickle. But also any other movies that Ray and I should maybe check out. We're always looking for great stuff to watch. We will be back next week. Since this is a special episode, we will be back next week to our normal schedule, and it will be back to my episode. And I think I have something pretty fun for Ray to watch, pretty interesting, a little something different.
Cool. I'm excited.
Absolutely. You're not going to want to miss that. But until then, this is Car RayRob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
All right, everyone. April is a brand new month at Say Hello to My Little Film, so I want to give you a little sneak peek of what I am bringing to Ray on our first episode of Say Hello to My Little Film, and that is the 1970 Giallo classic Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It is Dario Argento's directorial debut. It is a great movie. I saw it in the theater. I cannot wait for Ray to see it. I think he's really going to love it, and you're going to love it too, so make sure you check that out and join us back on our next episode.